Chodesh Tov, everybody. Recording this on Leil Rosh Chodesh Shvat. Maybe tomorrow we'll release a special video and audio on the Inyan of Chodesh Shvat. But I want to continue our discussion of Shovavim. If anyone's tuning in for the first time, please seek on this channel the earlier addresses on Shovavim because one builds on the other. But to offer the most basic recap, right? During these parshiot of Shmos Ve'era, Bo, B'Shach, Yisro, Mishpatim, and in a leap year, Truma, Tetzav are also part of it. And so during this, these weeks, what the parshiot that we read are describing how the world is having its personal Brit Milah. How so? As we explained, until Yetziat Mitzrayim, where God consciousness was not part of the world, the Avot believed in it, in their personal lives. They preached it, but it didn't take hold. It was like it was in their own private reality that they had a relationship with Hashem. They could not make it cosmic, right? They couldn't make it manifest for the whole world and all mankind to see, right? And that's part of also why they didn't see the fulfillment of the promises in their days. Like we read in the beginning of this week's parsha, they served Hashem with Kel Shakai. God revealed himself that way, as Rashi explains right there on the pasuk. They knew the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, but Hashem didn't reveal the name Yud Kei Vav Kei, where Hashem shows his infinite power. Hashem, in the days of the Avot, continued to run the world b'derech hateva, which is the name Kel Shakai. He didn't do revealed miracles for all of mankind to see, right? And whereas in this week's parsha begins, it already starts with last week's parsha, Moshe doing miracles in front of Bnei Yisrael, in front of Paro. And this week it's the Eser Makot and one Leman Harot Chalki Leman Saper Shmi B'chol Haaretz. Right? It's Hashem says to Moshe to tell Paro, I'm going to do it. I'm going to even harden your heart and do even more miracles than necessary to get you to surrender. Why? To put my name in the world. Right? And we, as we explained, God consciousness is what gives the world the right to exist, right? Not just God consciousness, but Torah, right? That already by Maaseh Bereshit, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made a Tanai with a condition, precondition with reality itself. Am Yisrael Makabel the Torah on the 6th day of Sivan, and if not, the world at that point should revert back to Tov Avo. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave 26 generations of just pure chesed. That's the 26 kilo olam chasto that we read in Halo Agara, the 26 generations of Hashem just in pure kindness just let the world exist anyway, even though the world was not according to plan, which means the world didn't have a pillar, a Yesod Olam, Tzaddik Yesod Olam, didn't have a pillar and didn't have a point center, that everything should be focused to Shem Shamayim. Right, so it starts with the Eser Makod, Leman Saper Shmi B'chol Haaretz, right? The Hashem's name should be spoken about, right? And then, and then how does it end? It ends with Am Yisrael getting the mitzvah of Brit Milah, which goes together with the mitzvah of Korban Pesach. That's in Parsha Bo, next week's Parsha. So you got Brit Milah right then and there because they're breaking free of the corrupt way the world was running. Right, so and that's Pesach, jumping out, breaking out of the bread box, I call it. Okay, but we'll talk about it more when we come to Pesach time. They break out of the whole old world order, and that's getting rid of the Orla. Right, but what's the next step cosmically? Next big step is Matan Torah, which is the final fulfilling of the commitment and giving the world the right to exist. When was Matan Torah? The day after 7 weeks after they left Mitzrayim. That's the Sfirat HaOmer. Until the day after the 49th day, the 50th day, which ushers in the what? The 8th week. On the 8th week after leaving Mitzrayim, the next big step in our development and in the world's development, right? Giving the world the right to exist happens, and we get Torah in the 8th week, right? And that's what we have. No matter how bad things get, as we explained, I'm recapping from previous sessions. No matter how bad things get, the Ramchal writes in a few places. No matter how things, we don't regress back further than Matan Torah and Yetziat Mitzrayim. Am Yisrael will always be a separate nation. At the chosen nation, that was Yetziat Mitzrayim, and Am Yisrael will always have the Torah. The Rebbe will never repossess the Torah and take it back. And that's like the basic tikkun that's irreversible, right? And that's in a regular year of Shovavim. Shmot Zeira Bo B'Shach So Mishpat Parshat Yitro we get the Torah, and Parshat Mishpatim is a continuation of the story of Matan Torah, right? As there's a whole nother, aspect of Matan Torah at the end of Parshat Mishpatim, and that's in a regular Shovavim. But we know that's not where Tikkun Olam stops, right? There has to be even greater revelation of Hashem in the world beyond Torah, right? And that's the Mishkan, the Beit HaMikdash. That's called a Makam Asher Yivcha Hashem L'Shakein Shmo Sham. That's where the divine name, which is the Shekhinah, rests, for everyone to see. And it becomes a focal point. Where do you daven? Where do you face? You have to face wherever the Beit HaMikdash is. It's point center. It's the center of our attention. Right? Kol Masech Yul Shem Shemaim. And that's the place of Shem Shemaim. But that tikkun, sadly, is not permanent. We had the Mishkan. It was Nechrav for many years. It was Nechrav. Then we had the Beit HaMikdash Harishon for 410 years. That it was Nechrav. And then Beit HaMikdash for 415 years, I think it was. And then it was Nechrav. But on a leap year that as we explained, that there's tikkun in a leap year. And please refer back to the last session for all the details, right? So on a leap year, which is a year of tikkun, every third year is a leap year. It's from 3 sets of Aseret Yemei Tshuva that make up the 30 days of Adar Sheni. So it's like built out of 3 sets of Aseret Yemei Tshuva. So which makes the cosmic alignment between the sun and the moon. That's why we say Ula Kapara Pesha. There's more tikkun and more kapara in a leap year. That's why in leap year we get tat. We get truma tetzaveh. We get that because we inch closer, a little bit closer to having a Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash exists first in thought, as per truma tetzaveh, and then in action as per Vayakol Pekudei. Please refer to the last session. But what I wanted to add, for tonight is, so even the tikkun of having a mishkan, right, or of having a Beit HaMikdash, which can only be in Eretz Yisrael, the Beit Olamim, the eternal house has to be in its proper place that it was meant to be, and that's in Eretz Yisrael, right? So the Mishkan, even which was temporary, was mobile, right? But even the Mishkan, there were the Shivat Yemei Miluim, when the Mishkan at the beginning of, at the end of Adar, historically that was at the end of Adar, that they had the 7 days Miluim, that the Mishkan couldn't stand permanently. Moshe was doing the Avodah, and he in a special white garment, and at the end of the day, they had to take down the Mishkan and put it up again for the 7 days of Miluim when Aaron and his sons were preparing to become Kohanim. On the 8th day, which is read the whole story of Hakamat HaMishkan, is revisited in Sefer Vayikra. So Vayi Bayom Hashmini Korosha, the day when the Mishkan went up as a permanent thing that didn't have to be taken down at the end of every day, right? It would stand until Bnei Yisrael would move, and it would be the normal functioning of Aaron and his sons, serving as Kohanim as opposed to Moshe Rabbeinu. That was Vayi Bayom Hashmini on the 8th day, just like Brit Milah. Okay, so now the permanent place for the Beit HaMikdash, and once it went there, it could never leave. Meaning to say, until the Mishkan finally got reassembled as the Beit HaMikdash in Eretz Yisrael, it could be anywhere. And not only that, during that time, it was You could have sacrificed wherever the Mishkan was, and it would be mutal chatchila. Once the Beit HaMikdash went to its place in Yerushalayim, that's it. If it's either there or nowhere, right? It's either there or nowhere. So if the Chas Shalom Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, unfortunately, you can't bring korbanot somewhere else. You can't say, well, let's build a Beit HaMikdash somewhere else in Eretz. It can't, right? Once it reached its place, right, where the divine name is meant to stick, there's no other place anymore. All right. But the point I want to get to is, to get to Yerushalayim, we have to first, conquer Eretz Yisrael, right? Now, the Eretz Yisrael is called Eretz Shivat HaAmamim. It's called the land of the 7 nations. And we conquered from them, which makes us what? We're the 8th nation. If it's called Eretz Shivat HaAmamim, so we're the 8th. Right, so we come in there and we take it over. So that means our conquering Eretz Yisrael is also like a big act of Brit Milah, right? The 7 nations are like the Orla that has to be removed, and we move in. We're the 8th, right? So this is not a coincidence, that the idea of the world getting its right to exist, its central pillar and its focal point, that the world needs a point center. A point center. There has to be some centrality. What are we living for? What's the purpose in reality? Shem Shemaim, like we point out in earlier sessions. Shem Shemaim is what holds the world together. So Knesset Shem Shemaim, it's point center. Point center also keeps everything in its right place, that the different forces shouldn't cancel each other out, like fire and water. What keeps them? Heaven and earth, all these opposites, they don't cancel each other out. Point center keeps everything in its place. And that's Shem Shemaim. And that's the Shem Shemaim, that's Torah. Torah's all God's names. And that's the Mokom HaMikdash, is the Mokom of Shem Shemaim. Right? Torah we always have, and that's why we have Shobbi every year. And in a leap year, we even have a little bit of the Makom of Shem Shemaim, the Truma Tetzaveh aspect of it, because we have it in our hearts, even if we don't have it yet fully manifest. Right? So now you understand, now these two go together. Right, you want a pillar to hold up the house, right? You got one pillar, right? You got one pillar, right? Where do you put it? You got to put it in the center. It's chatzot, right now. When I'm almost chatzot anyway, and the Gemara says, on chatzot the klavim tzoakim, the dogs cry, and they bark at midnight. And that's because that's when they daven. All right, so this is a very holy time. Klavim tzoakim, and chatzos, it's almost chatzos. Anyways, so now, the column has to be centrally positioned. And I think we mentioned this in previous sessions. Why Avram Avinu, the Medrash says, was born in the middle of history, because he gave the schut for the world to exist. Because even though the full schut of the world's existence was when we received Torah, right? But the world got a little bit of a boost. Avram Avinu anyway begins the period called the Alpayim Torah, 2,000 years of Torah. So he starts it reaches full actuality with Matan Torah. So, but it's no coincidence. Avram Avinu was allude to it. It's Bihi Baram, B'schut Avraham. Rashi right there says it. Right, that because he initiates the process that leads up to Matan Torah. Again, the process of there being Am Yisrael that will be taken out of Mitzrayim, because Avram Avinu in Parshat Lech already gets the nevuah that there will be a Golus Mitzrayim and will be taken out of Mitzrayim, and then we're going to get the Torah. He starts the whole process, and by no coincidence, Avram Avinu starts the whole process gets Brit Milah. It's called Brito Shel Avram Avinu, right? Because, the idea of, the column, and the Medrash says that's why Avram Avinu was born in the middle of history, because you got to put the column that holds up the world exactly in the center. So the column and the center, that's Yesod, the column, the foundation, right, which is the Aver, and then there's the Malchut, which is where the Brit Milah is performed, after the Brit Milah is performed, or ultimately, the Malchut also could be a person's properly wedded Jewish wife, right, where the Yesod connects to the Malchut. So the Malchut is either the Atar Shabbat, the crown that's left on the Aver, and that's in the individual, the crown that's left on the Aver after Brit Milah, is that crown, malchut, or it's his wife, is his malchut, because you have to have the perfect alignment of the column and the point center, right? Because the foundation of the world is also that we are always anchored to Shem Shemaim, Kol Masachil Shem Shemaim. We have God on our mind all the times, and that's the anchor and point center of the world, right? And Chas v'Shalom, we said when you're pogim the Brit, right? What we have to do tshuva for, because just like this world, the world got its big cosmic Brit Milah, it got its yesod, its foundation, and its malchut, the Shem Shemaim that the yesod the column has to clip into. It got its point center, right? What should be the centrality of the universe, centrality of your universe. Kol masachil Shem Shemaim. Shem Shemaim should always be on your mind. Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tavidayo. I put Hashem in front of me constantly. So the Mishnah Berurah says that they should envision in a place where it's mutter to think this, the name Yud Kei Vav Kei in front of you constantly. Always be we know God by His name. That's how we know Him. That's what it says in Parshat Shemot. That's why Hosef is called Shemot. We have to have God's name is point center of everything, and the column that upholds reality has to clip right directly into that center. Everything should be l'shem shemai. It's also called l'shma, for its own sake, not for any ulterior motives. Got to be anchored. Anchored. The column has to be anchored in Shem Shemai. Okay. So and God forbid if the anchor is off center, the building collapses. Right? You need this alignment between the center and the column. The yesod, the column, the amud, right? The yesod, the foundation, the supporting pillar, and the malchut, point center. If it's off center, whole thing collapses. So now what we as explained that side that there's power in the amud, in the yesod, and if it's misaligned, so that power will also go to the wrong place. So the building will collapse, but that power will go to the wrong places and strengthen the sitra achra. All right, so going from a world of Tod to having a world that's standing properly with Yesod and Malchut, which is it's really the anchor and the central column, and really that central column brings down the energy from above to below. Right, the world below is supported by the world above. Right. So you have to have the alignment, and with misalignment is aside from the collapse of everything, right? But also the power in the column could go to the wrong place. So aside from the good binyan, the good edifies collapsing, the bad could steal the energy and increase the badness in the world, right? So it's not just that the bad will get stronger because the good collapsed. It could be much worse than that the power of goodness goes out since it didn't get focused, which is also the problem of doing anything shelo lishma, right? That we say, mitoch shelo lishma balishma, says Nefesh HaChaim, because you're doing it in training al menat to get to lishma, to get there. But if you are doing lishma b'shita, I don't care about God. I do mitzvahs because I want to impress my friends. I do mitzvahs because otherwise my parents will throw me out of the house. But I really don't care about Shem Shemaim. I don't do it lishma, which is the Shem Shemaim. You're increasing so you're doing something good in essence, but because you're doing it for ulterior motives, so that koach goes out to the chitzonim. So doing avodah shloshim, it's not just the mitzvah is not so perfect because it could have been embellished with more pure kavanah l'shem shemayim. If it's shelo lishma b'shita on purpose, look, we all need a little bit of shelo lishma, shemitoch shelo lishma balishma, but it'll only work if that's what the reason that I have to con myself into it, fake it until I make it. I gotta give myself some incentive because I want to come lishma. Fine, that's when shelo lishma is mutar. It's mutar because you're doing it as a step to get lishma. But if it's shelo b'shelo because you couldn't care less about lishma, so it's not that your mitzvahs aren't perfect. Your mitzvahs are pasul, right? They increase the koach of the chitzonim, Rahman al-Litzlan. Like Torah has to be learned lishma. And if not, chas v'sholem, it could be a samamavet. Right? The Gemara says in Kiddushin. Don't a lot of fakers, use Torah, and they use it, to con people into either following them or doing the wrong thing altogether. Well, you can't have Torah going to the wrong place, can't have the koach of mitzvot going to the wrong place. It has to be perfectly aligned. That's why Tikkun HaBrit is so important. It's the alignment. It is the alignment. It's the cosmic alignment. It's the alignment in us. It's the anchor. Right? As a rule, we try to keep this down to 20 minutes per session, so it shouldn't be too much for one time. But I want to stop clubbing talking. Right, but I do want to leave with a quick point that I'll follow up with, next time. And that is, as everyone knows, there's shesh mitzvot tzimidiot, right? There are 6 constant mitzvahs that you can do all time because they're all, in who you are and in the way you perceive reality and in the way you manage yourself. So that's why they're always applicable everywhere, 24/7. All right, the shesh mitzvot tzimidiot are to know that there's a God, to know that, to not believe in any other God, to know that he is one, to love him, to fear him, and to not give in to your desires, So now take a look how this is all a top down. It's, it's the column all the way down, from the head down to the Brit, right? So in your head, Emunah. You believe, there's a God. You know that there is no other God. And you know that there's only one God, right? These 3 mitzvot, head, right? So now it goes down the spinal column to the heart, right? Love him, fear him. That's in the heart. And then it goes further down to the Brit. Don't give in to your desires because your desires sway you. And they pull away the alignment, right? You got to keep the alignment. With the shesh mitzvot tzimidiot, you are a solid pillar that's anchored from heaven to earth. From heaven, with your emunah and these ideas that there's a God, there's no other God, that he is the one and only. Your heart, you love him, you fear him, and lo tatrach, you don't give in to your desires. And that's how the column is perfectly from heaven to earth and anchored, as opposed to the desires. That's the critical last link that the desires try to sway you and pull you off center. That's what the Yetzer Hara tries to do. You don't give in to your desires, and you kol masach l'shem shamayim, and you maintain the integrity of the Brit Kodesh. We will talk more about this in next session. Be'ezrat Hashem.